guys. So, after the last video, I'm sure you guys are pretty damn confused. Maybe not understanding how the results came out to what they were, or maybe confused as to what my deduction was. But, um, you know, time changes things, and context matters, and I don't know how to feel about it, to be honest, guys, because I mean, yeah, I don't know. So, you guys see these points in front of you right now. I'm sure you can read them. And they're all quite important. So, we'll go in order. Point number one. The 4080 is probably the most impressive GPU of all time in terms of raw FPS per watt. Because what it can do and how much power it sucks, it's actually insane how little it draws, how cold it runs, how cold the memory runs. The card is an efficiency monster. It is crazy efficient. It's actually stupidly efficient. It's actually so efficient that it will boggle your mind. Like, you will be mind blown as to how little power you draw in game. It's actually confusing. Um, and part of that feeds into this, the util. And the utilization might be a factor of this, the second point. And if the second point is true, then the 7900 XTX and the 4090 inherently look less attractive at 1440p, because if they are faster, they're not going to be as, like, if they are faster than 48, well, they are faster than 4080. The degree to which they are faster than the 4080 will not be as significant. And honestly, like I said in the last video, 4090 is 20% faster at 1440p. Sorry. The AMD card is 10% faster 1440p, and the 4090 in DXR is, I don't know, like some other pretty impressive figure, like maybe 35%, 40% faster in DXR or whatever. The AMD card is 50 to 60% weaker in DXR. I'm gonna guess, that's speculation. So probably is gonna be a important wordger. There we go. So I'm gonna say raster 1440p. This third point is also quite interesting. So if Nvidia optimize the architecture with drivers and do what they did with Ampere, the 4080 and the 4090 will be much better performers. And if that happens, you guys can kind of see where the 4080 might start looking more compelling. Because right now, even at 50%, it's not a bad value. But at 60%, that would be quite a good deal, right? So if they can get this GPU utilization problem fixed, the 4080 will end up being quite fast. Quite fast. Now, the next factor is this new Nvidia like feature they have. Let me just Google actually, but please Google for a second. So Nvidia Lovelace DXR shader organization. What is it? It's something weird they do with like how the rays, like, I don't know, how they get organized or something. I don't know. It's called SER maybe. SER. There it is. So let's check it out. So shader execution reordering. There we go. That's the one. And then there's something else about ray tracing. But anyway, so the point is, if some games come out that have optimizations for these new Nvidia you could say, tweaks to the architecture, then Lovelace ends up doing weirdness. And what you saw in the presentation starts becoming a real picture. Because right now, we're not getting that. But if we can get that or close to it, Lovelace ends up becoming an insane architecture. And that could happen over time. It could happen. I'm not saying it will, it could happen. Um, this is objective. It's just gonna crush Ordinary 3 and Ampere. Like, I mean, in DXR, the 4080 is damn quick. Like I said in the previous video, um, or yeah, in the previous video, like I said, the 4080 is the second best ray tracing card on Earth besides the 90. And the 4080 is a pretty damn good ray tracing card. It's quite good in ray tracing. It's really good. The 4090 is a lot better at ray tracing, but the 4080, if you want good DXR, is a good option because unfortunately elsewhere you won't get that. And if you're gonna say, oh, it'll cat the AMD card cat, no, it won't. It won't. Like, it's 10% faster at 1440. I'm telling you right now, it's 10% faster. Like, at best, it's 15% faster. It's not more than that because the 4090 is 15 to 20% faster. So how could this card be much more than 10% faster? It would make sense. I don't know. Like I said, the 4080 is too fast. It's faster than we thought it would be. It's faster than we realized. Like, it's when the reviews came out, we started to realize that, you know what? It's not as stupid as we thought it was. Now, it's not a great value, but it isn't as stupid as we thought it would be. So that's the problem. The 4080 ended up kind of making videos like my own, even like that video I made about the Nvidia fanboyism and stuff like that. I mean, that video is true if the 4080 is 20% slower, or rather the AMD card is 20% faster. So the AMD card is 20% faster and 20% cheaper, or I think it's no, it's not 20%. It's like something. Wait, let me Google. It's do some math. Hold on. So it's gonna be 1200 minus, like, let's try 15. So it'll be like 17%. Yeah, about 70%. So if it's 20% faster and about like 16 to 17% cheaper, then the AMD card would have been the clear winner. 20% FPS is compelling, and then, you know, the price is just the nail in the coffin. However, it's 10% faster. 10. It's 10% faster. It's not that much faster. Like, it's not that much faster. It loses by a mile in ray tracing. So, yeah, at it's I mean, what can you say, Rob? What can you say? Let me see if I can fix this. I just messed it up, guys. Sorry about that. That was dumb. There we go. Oh, come on. Damn it. Okay, screw it. Yeah, so, yeah, whatever. Anyway, next problem is that regional pricing. That's the main one that I was going to get to before I messed that up. So, regional pricing. If we go look, wait, where? So, for me, it's Africa. We'll find a 4090. So, 35,000. And then 4080 would be 25,800. Yeah, there we go. So, no, I didn't pay this much for it, by the way. I paid less. I got it through different means. But this is the price you would pay at retail. So we're looking at these kinds of value. So let's compare a bit. $35% more money for 35% more frames in 4K. So it's 1-to-1, which is nice. Um, that's not a bad deal. That's not a bad deal. However, in 1440p, that's the problem. The 4090 at 1440p is an awful value. It just is an awful value. So that's kind of the thing. Now, the AMD card. So, where does AMD slot in? Now, in South Africa, I'm going to prediction price for you guys. I'm going to say, for me, that's our prediction. 23 grand, I'm going to say. That looks about right. That's about what the AMD cards came at 2 years ago. The AIB ones. So 23 grand, maybe 24 grand. Could be 24. If it's 24, it's rough. It could be 24 grand. It looks like 23 to me, I think, but 24 is possible. So at this kind of pricing, which would you buy? Like, okay, so I'm gonna say 23,500. Let's just say 23,500. Like, let's just put it right in the middle. So it's like 23,500 divided by 25,800. And that should be 9% cheaper. So I'm gonna say 25,800 minus 9%. Yeah, I'm about right. So 9%. So so the plot thickens. The plot thickens. At 4K, like I said, guys, the AMD card should win by 15-20% because it's got a bigger bus. And that's why. At 1440p, 10% looks it, I would say. And for pricing wise, 9% cheaper in my country. In my country personally. Um, and in DXR, it gets bodied. So I'm gonna say 50% slower than 4080 in DXR is pretty realistic. So at these prices, does the 4080 actually look like a bad value? Because tell me, okay? You want DXR. You played 1440p. Just think about it. So you want DXR. You play 1440p. The AMD card is 10% faster at 1440p, but it's 50% slower in DXR, and it's 9% cheaper. Like, would you pick the AMD card? 9% cheaper, 10% raster, 50% slower in DXR. That's a problem. Now, what have I told you? I didn't pay 25,800. So, do you see the problem? Um, if the AMD cards come out at 23,500 in my region, which is very likely, like I said, 23,000 to 24,000 for sure. If I paid on par, then in my mind I won for sure, because that card is 10% faster than mine in the res I play, and in DXR it gets bodied. So to pay the same money is completely fine. At 999, the 4080 would actually be a really decent card. Not even a 900, like 999. That's the sad truth, guys. The 3080 never was 699. Even the 699 cards were terrible. All the good cards were 799, 899, 999. So really, at 999, a 4080 would be 50% faster. With, like I said previously in the video, with potential for growth at a relatively equal launch price. At 999. At 999, it would be a good card, for sure, in my opinion. I think at 999, it's fine. Like, the 4080 is then. So if the. So let's just say the 700 XTX gets 110, 10% faster, 4080 gets 100. So we're going to say 100 divided by 110. Sorry. 100 divided by 110. So it's about 9% slower in 1440p. So the 4080 is 9% slower in 1440p. It's 50% faster than DXR, and it costs the amount would be like, okay, let's do the reverse roll. Let's do this. So let's say 4080 versus 1700 XTX. I'm not even gonna mention 4K. Well, I guess I could. So let's say it gets 120 versus 100. So let's say 100 over 120. So about 16%, more or less. I'm gonna 16%. And in my region anyway. So for you guys, it's different. But for me, it'd be 10% in our region. It's Africa. So 16% less than 4K, 9% less than 1440. 8 GB VRAM, 10% more money, wins by a margin in DXR. So you begin to realize that the issue isn't really that the 4080 is priced um, so high. It's kind of that, well, I mean, there just isn't much to compete with it. That's the problem. Like, if the 3080 was 700 on launch and 500 right now at retail, it would be a legit problem for the 4080. But at this current point in time, it's like, um, it's just, yeah, it is what it is. So, wow, weird conclusion, isn't it? Like, it's very strange that after all this like speculation, all this like, you know, memeing the 4080, this is the verdict eventually. And it's like, I mean, I knew after the benchmarks that came out that it would be a problem, but when I had the opportunity to pay a dream price for it, I just could not resist. I was like, yeah, at that price, it makes a lot of sense. Um, yeah, it just does. In my opinion, if you can pay 999 for a 4080, then it makes total sense. There's just no real reason why you wouldn't, right? Um, it's better value. At the same price, it'd be better value. So, at more money, it's questionable, but at the same price, it's better value. In my region, it's okay value. In NA, it's worse value. So I'm gonna mention it. I'm gonna say it. Like, that's kind of the reality of it, guys. Don't discount the card. It's not a bad card. If people try to roast you, just ignore them. Like, if you feel compelled to buy a 4090 because you're afraid of being roasted, then you need to delete your social media accounts. Like, I'm being serious. If you feel compelled to buy a 4090 because people are telling you that the 4080 is objectively bad with absolutely no justification, like justification, explaining, looking at your country, looking at pricing structures, looking at performance, like if they can't explain to you why, then you probably should just delete your social media and just like focus on you because you're not helping yourself. Like you're not buying a 4090 will not help you. Like 4090 is a very, I don't know, it's a hard card to buy. It's a hard card to justify buying, especially because 4K is terrible. Who plays a 4K? Honestly, who does? Like, does anyone in this? Oh, nah, that's a horrible question because a bunch probably do. But like, 4K, you can't be okay. 240 hertz. Who owns a 4K 240 hertz screen? Any of you? Any of you? No, I didn't think so. I don't think so. I don't think a single one of you watching this video right now own a 4K 240 hertz screen. 240 hertz for stuff like COD is needed. It's not even a question. Like playing COD at 144 versus 240 is like it's night and day, dude. It's like you can't play CS, bro. Like what the hell? Like you need 1440p. It's a good res. It's the res to buy right now. So 1440 240 is the res to buy. 360 is doable. I mean that's fine. You can buy 360. That's fine. But 4K, nah. Skip 4K right now. For now, skip 4K. So 4090 is hard to justify. It just isn't really a good, 1440p card. You can buy it. I don't know. I wouldn't buy it. Unless you want to benchmark. Benchmarking is great. So if you want to benchmark, 100%, yeah. Benchmarking, you have my blessing. For benchmarking purposes, go for it. It's hella fast. In 3D Mark. In 1440p gaming, yeah, no. Then the AMD card, context. It's context. So if you're in like a ROW region like me, and pricing looks more like this to you guys, right? Then that's kind of what you have to look at. Like this can kind of go over here. So this is like one thing, right? So my thoughts, guys. That's it. Like that's what I think. I think that the 4080 in certain contexts does make sense. Um, but you have to have data on your regional pricing. You have to know how much the AMD card should cost, more or less. Um, but yeah, performance-wise, it's justifiable. It's just a pricing problem because if in your region you're paying significantly more for 4080, then no way. No way, you can't. It doesn't make sense. Okay, it doesn't make sense. It needs to be close. Like the AMD card has to be around 9% cheaper. That's where it's cooking. That's where you start to cook. And then once, um, like I guess you could say, if it gets to 999, so on par in my region, your guys' region, wherever, then it's like my recommendation. Honestly, weird. This I know it sounds weird coming from me, but like yo, at 999 or equal MSRP or equal wherever you live, if it's equal, then my recommendation is buy a 4080. If it's equal, right? Because if it's equal, the other card is 10% faster in raster, but loses by a margin in DXR. Like I said, I keep saying that. That's the case. I would rather pay equal money for a hell of a lot better DXR and a little bit slower in raster. That makes sense. In equal money, it makes sense. If they're both 999, it's fine, right? I'm not wrong. Like surely I'm not wrong. That's reasonable. Um, and if in your region the AMD cards are like $1,200, buy 4080. If you want to buy, a card in that price bracket, then buy 4080. Because at equal pricing, I don't believe that the AMD card makes more sense. It just doesn't. I mean, you play 4K, sure. Play 4K, and you want the 15% extra, whatever. And you don't mind the DXR, then cool. But if you play 1440p and you do like DXR every now and again, then the 4080 is a better value. It just is. At equal pricing, okay? At current pricing in America, not looking great. Current pricing rest of world, looking better. But where the real W is if you get like me. So if you can pay the same money for a 4080 as the AMD card costs where you live, that's a W. You've got to pay the same money. Like that's the key. That's it. Full stop. That's it. Right? But again, like I said, depending on price structure where you live, right? Where you live, it can still be a reasonable purchase. Like it can still be somewhat justifiable. Like like I said, in America, if it's $200 delta, then maybe there's no way to really justify it. Now, in my opinion, at $200 more expensive, if it's not that much slower and it's still winning by a margin in DXR, then I mean, $200 is too much, isn't it? Just too much. It's quite a bit more money. It's like 20% more money, so it's quite a bit. But in rest of world pricing, it becomes very interesting, very interesting. And like I said, if you can manage this, the 4080, I'd say buy it. I'd say buy it. If you can pay equal money, that's fine. Makes more sense. And I think long term, the architecture will mature, and if you get fast CPUs, I think the 4080 will get faster over time. I think it will. So, I hope you guys enjoy this video. Feel free to like argue if you want to say in the comments. If you don't like the ideas I have, I mean, go for it. I've elaborated on everything. So I've explained um what I think about the MSRP jump and everything, and like, and I myself do believe it needs price drop. So it needs to come on par with the AMD card. If you can get it on par with the AMD card in your region, that makes sense. You can't pay more for it. If you do, you can, like I said, you can justify it, but it's very iffy. It's very weird. If you pay equal money, it's good. Equal money, it wins. It's good. Like, it's a good deal. Equal money, and 1,000, like, at equal money. And let's say, like, if you can compare it to your region, like what 3080s cost on launch. So in my region on launch, 3080s were about 18,500 to 20,000 rand. So let me just add that in. 3080s at launch in 2020 in South SA were 18,500 to 22,000. So basically, guys, like, yeah. Okay, let me tell you this. I paid 18,500 for a 3080 Eagle on launch. So I paid 27% more money for all that performance. Now, you could say this is not MSRP. Yo, well, nothing was. Like, nothing was, dude. Like, I live in South Africa, bro. Like, what do you want me to say? Like, bro, you're like, oh, wait for $700 GPUs in your country. Like, they ain't never gonna happen, champ. Like, they ain't never gonna happen. Like, relax. We have VAT and we have shipping costs. Like, how the distro gonna import a card for free, dude? Like, bro, nah. So, yeah, like, this is what rest of world pricing looks like. That's very important to remember. Rest of world pricing is a bitch, guys. Rest of world pricing really makes things interesting. Everyone's going on like, oh, it's $1,000, $1,200. You could buy a 4090 for $1,600. Bro, these prices are all completely made up. Like, in a lot of countries, like, around the world, like, these prices never happen. Like, I hope you guys realize that. Like, NA is a large region, but NA is not the entire globe. And in a lot of countries like Australia, New Zealand, Africa, African countries, Europe, Russia, a lot of countries, the UK, like, pricing with, currency conversions and VAT and import costs and all this type of stuff, guys, pricing ends up becoming a mess. So, people, I feel like reviewers and people online, they use these weird sweeping statements like that they just can't understand that, like, like, MSRP and NA is not actually reflective of the real GPU buying experience, and context is very important. Context is crucial. So please understand, like, context is everything. Everything. It's everything, dude. Like, yeah. So hope you guys enjoyed this very controversial video. I'm gonna head to bed now because I have load shedding in like an hour, and I want to be asleep while that happens. So I will check you guys. Good night, I guess, Lamau.